Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Palma Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I am your host, and today I am pleased to be introducing Derek Munro. He is the director of Divergent Yachting and as well the owner of Yacht Consultancy. How are you, Derek?
I'm very well, thanks, Rhea. Very well. Considering the circumstances, it's great.
Yes, well, you know what? It's probably because of the circumstances that I managed to have you on the show today.
Yeah, probably is actually. You're quite right.
Well, you are extremely busy. I mean, in doing the research prior to the show and taking a look at what you've accomplished in your life, for those that don't know, 2018, you were awarded the ISS Business Person of the Year Award for setting up SUPERYACHT Charities. SUPERYACHT Charities is well known throughout the yachting industry, and they have some of the most fabulous balls, especially at Christmas time I've seen, and raise a lot of money for some very good causes. You were also involved in the amazing yacht Black Pearl in not only the design, but as well the build, were you not?
Yeah, I didn't have so much to do with the design. That was obviously Nuvolari and Freevoc, and the client had a lot to do with it, but I oversaw the construction of it on behalf of the client. So I was involved with quite a bit of technical stuff during the build.
What an absolutely phenomenal project that is. It's a beautiful boat.
It is, and it sails incredibly well. It's a pleasure to every time I go on board the boat. Yeah, it is. It's a phenomenal boat.
Well, let's get back to your roots. Now, you know, you've accomplished a lot to date, but where did you start? Where are you from originally?
So I'm Scottish, but left Scotland when I was two months old. Went to Malaysia, Solomon Islands, grew up in New Zealand, was educated in New Zealand. From the age of about 9, I went to boarding school in New Zealand while my parents were in the Solomon Islands. And completed all my education in New Zealand, and then worked for a year or two after my university, and hitchhiked from New Zealand to Israel. And yeah, but I've been sailing since, I've been involved with the water since we arrived in the Solomons when I was 5 years old.
And when did you get into the yachting industry?
Did a little bit of race. So I was sailing as a kid at school, and then when I was in Fremantle during the America's Cup, working as a barman and a bouncer, I did weekend sailing with the local yacht club. And then in Israel, months later, a chap walked into the bar where I happened to be the cocktail barman in a bar, who I sailed with in Australia, in Fremantle. And he had just been on a delivery of a 62-foot aluminium Bruce Farr boat to Eilat, Israel. And he was getting off, and he said they needed a watch leader. And he knew of my experience. And so that's how I got into it. So I got into yachting 86, I think it was, unpaid, got my food and board, and that was it. And for 6-7 months, we sailed Red Sea, all around the Mediterranean, across to Puerto Banús. And I was about to get off and hitch a ride on another boat to the Caribbean when the owner offered to pay me for my time. He didn't realize I hadn't been paid. He actually came and he said, "I've got another boat that needs delivering. The captain's said some nice things about you. Could you please fly to this country and pick up my yacht and sail it back?" And I said, "Well, I need to go get some money." And he wrote me a check backdated for all the time that I'd been on board the boat. And that was when I suddenly went, oh my God, I can make a living doing what I like doing. So and that's how I started.
And so you just started off as basically a deckhand then?
Yeah, I was quite lucky. I started off as a watch leader deckhand, and then I did a trip across the Atlantic, across the Atlantic on a Swan 57. And when I got there, I was a watch leader on that boat. And when I got there, I did what we all did in those days, and hit, looked around for some day work on yachts and stuff. And I ended up running a little catamaran for one of the hotels in St. Martin. And then one of the chaps who was there did a delivery to Fort Lauderdale, and I went on as the watch leader for that. And when we arrived in Fort Lauderdale, I honestly thought I was just going to get off and carry on heading west. I mean, I was on my New Zealand OE heading home, after a few years. And the owner of that boat, and that was a Camper Nicholson 65, which in those days was a good sized yacht. He said, "Look, I I want a captain. I don't know how to sail my boat. I need a captain. And the guy who was the delivery captain said, well, obviously Derek now knows your yacht. And that was it. I became a skipper without any tickets.
Wow.
So I was quite lucky. The period of being deckhand to captain was quite short. But yeah, I'd sailed a lot as a kid all around the Pacific and New Zealand and stuff. So I wasn't too worried about the sailing.
Well, back in those days, though, I mean, makes it sound so long ago. It wasn't that long ago. But you weren't required to have as many tickets as you are now.
No, you didn't. In actual fact, you didn't really need any tickets at all. It was a private yacht, so we didn't need tickets anyway. And I was quite hands-on engineering-wise anyway, so it's just my background and how I grew up as a kid. So I was fixing things and sailing, and the captains that I'd had leading between Eilat, Israel, and the Caribbean, the two captains I had, who happened to be two South African guys, great gentlemen who were very professional. They taught me a lot about navigation. So when the guy offered me the job, I remember I was sitting in a bar in Fort Lauderdale with the owner of the boat, and we're having a cup of coffee, and he said, do you think you can be the captain? I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. And he said, well, in about a month, I'd like you to sail it to the Med. And I was thinking to myself, well, God, that's easy. I just got to go east. Just go east. So I signed my new contract as a captain thinking, yeah, I'll be all right. And literally he walked out and went back to the boat. And I went across the road to the chandlery and bought myself a plastic sextant, a Mary Blewett book, how to sextant navigate. And that's how I got into it. And I navigated there, Bahamas, Bermuda, Azores, Gibraltar, my first transatlantic. Hit everything on nail on the head every time, so I was pretty happy. And got to the Mediterranean, worked for a few months, and then went straight up and did my tickets. Got my Yacht Masters.
So what has been your favorite trip out of all of your sailing time?
Well, I've been really, really lucky. I've sailed the Med, the Caribbean, Scotland, East Coast of America, and the Pacific. Done a trans-Pacific. As I said, I grew up there. I mean, I love the Pacific. I'm very much a fan of the Pacific Islands and the simplicity of it all, and still pulling, well, maybe not so much now, but back in those days, anchoring off somewhere and not really seeing anyone else for a day or two, and just catching the fish and diving down and getting some crays, and the simple life in the sunshine and in beautiful places with good people. I've been really lucky. I've had some great owners to work with. People who wanted to travel and wanted to see the world, and who were really open to chat, and it was very, very much more relaxed, I think, back then. Once the MLC came in and we started looking after more crew on bigger boats and everything, I think the job became more of a 9-to-5 job, not so much the pleasure. I think my generation of captains, many of us had other qualifications. So I'm an agricultural economist, and most of the guys I know have business degrees or something else, and they got into yachting because they were passionate about the yachting. And then it became a job that paid money, and they grew with the industry. And I think in my opinion, I think we saw the best part of the industry developing. So yeah, it's a great industry to be in. Love it.
So now that now that you have Divergent Yachting, do you find yourself out on the water as often as you used to be?
Definitely not, but I'm very lucky. I oversaw the build of Black Pearl, as you know, and we manage a couple of motorboats as well and stuff. But one of the main things for me is I'm the main manager for Black Pearl, and my team look after the other boats as well as myself. So the client on Black Pearl has been very, very generous, and he's pretty much told me, if the boat is sailing and it's doing a delivery and you want to be on it, you go for it. So I've been very fortunate to have done a couple of really good trips on Black Pearl, and I hope to do some more. And apart from that, the only sailing I get is family holidays, sailing Croatia, the BVIs and stuff like that with the family. But,
well, that's probably just as enjoyable as it was back in 1986.
Definitely. It's really, yeah, it is. And it's nice to go sailing in places like that when, You know, you charter the boat yourself, and you're not serving someone else. You're sitting on the back enjoying the gin and tonics and having a nice meal in a restaurant, looking out, and you don't have to run around looking after someone else. So yeah, we're very fortunate in the industry that, you know, we can do all of that stuff.
Well, tell me a little bit about Super Yacht Charities. How did that come about?
The SUPERYACHT Charities started this would have been our fifth, we would have had our fifth ball as SUPERYACHT Charities last month. In fact, pretty much a month ago today. But it started 6 years ago when three of us were sitting at, well, no, there was more than that. A guy called Albert McElroy got hold of Sail for Cancer in the UK, and they asked him if anyone in the industry would be interested in raising some money, doing something charitable. So there was about 20 of us. I don't know the exact number. We all sat in a life raft for 24 hours off Ocean Village in the UK, in Southampton. And we raised £28,000, I think it was, in the 24 hours for Sail for Cancer. And that was at about September time. And then in December, there was three of us, myself, Vanessa Hodgson, and Kerry Pettit sitting in a bar, and we thought, oh, it would be really cool to just have a party. No one has a party at the beginning of the year for the yacht industry. You know, we've just had Monaco and Cannes and Metz and everything else leading up to Christmas, and we're sitting in there, let's have a party at the beginning of the year. So we thought, we went and rented a room at the St Mary's football stadium for 200. They had a room for 200. So we rented the room. We thought between us, we'll probably get 100, 150 people if we really go for it. April, let's just have a party. Anyway, within about 3 weeks, we had 300 odd people. So we doubled the size of the room. And we had an amazing party. We had 350 something in the first year. And we raised not a great deal of money. I think we raised about another £30,000 for Sail for Cancer again. And I got up the next day and I just thought to myself, well, you know, we should really do this better and more formally and everything else. So I went online on the Sunday morning and I bought about 6 different domain names just in case someone else did. SUPERYACHT Charities, SUPERYACHT Charity Ball, The Ball, all sorts of stuff. And then I put together a plan and called in the guys who had helped organize the party, which was Kerry and Vanessa and Ken Hickling and Dave Goldie and myself, and said, guys, this is what I think we should do. And, you know, do you want to be part of it? And every single one of them said yes. And I happened to get up and go to the toilet. And when I came back, they'd told me, you're the chairman, you're in charge of it, you go for it. And so since then, I've been fielding all the rubbish that goes with it. But, you know, you can't do that sort of thing without a great team of trustees. And everyone has put their time in and no one gets paid. It's all voluntary. 100% of the money we've taken has gone to charity or to hurricane relief or to something else. We've got to the stage that last year we introduced some more events. We have the Palmer Seafarers Dinner now, and we're still looking. We have a postponed date for that this year at the moment, which we're still working on. And we're looking at doing a smaller event later this year still. We've booked the St Mary's Stadium for 300, I think, not 520 like we normally have, but just in case the Southampton Yacht Show goes ahead and just in case we can do something. And we have some new trustees now. We have Glenn Taylor, Ed Taylor, and Liam Dobbin who have joined us as trustees. So we're spreading the load a bit. Last year there was, I think, 890 guests at our events. In the last 4 years, we've raised just over £400,000 that have gone to charitable people, and we're growing. But I think we might have to just settle down and hold it here for now because every one of the trustees has their own business and their own stuff to do, and it does take up a lot of spare time.
I was going to say that's almost one job full-time all unto itself.
Yeah, we would love if there was someone out there who could donate 28, 30,000 pounds a year, guaranteed that we could employ someone in an office to do just that. so that the rest of the money that we raise during events goes to charity. If that one person could do that, that would be amazing. So we're slowly looking to see if there's someone out there who would do that, and who would either want to remain anonymous, or who would want to be branded on all our websites, social media, and at all our events. But
well, maybe you'll get a response from this.
well, that would be awesome.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, you're all very accomplished, people. The list of names that you've just, spieled off, you're all very accomplished people, and you all have a lot on your plate. So, as this grows and the amount of money that you are raising for charity, it's such a brilliant cause. But, the time factor, I can imagine, does take a lot.
Yeah, and in reality, what we should be doing is thanking all the wives and partners, because of they're the ones who allow us the time when we're home and the weekends and stuff to do this. So yeah, I guess we're all very lucky.
Well, one thing that you were mentioning the other day is that you have a daughter that is now heading into the yachting industry.
Yeah. So our eldest daughter Ellen is 7 months into her cadetship as a deck officer training at Warsash for unlimited ticket, but with super yacht attached. So yeah, it'll be great to get her into the industry, and she's been lucky enough. She's worked on Black Pearl for a few weeks here and there, and got some job experience. And yeah, maybe she can start to take over a bit more of the load in about 3 or 4 years, when she's done some sea time and got her qualifications behind her.
So are you her inspiration?
Oh God, I hope not.
She could have worse inspiration, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess so. But she's been, the kids have been exposed to all our friends who are mainly in the industry, and they've heard all the stories and what goes on and stuff. So I hope that there are some other people that would also be her inspiration. But she's got her head screwed on. She knows what she wants to do. She's a smart kid, works hard.
That's good. Well, that's what it takes in today's day and age is work ethic, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to get ahead for sure in any industry.
Yeah, and she definitely has that ethic, which is amazing. I don't know where she got it from, but she does. She's helped also with SUPERYACHT Charities for the last 4 years. She volunteers and helps us at every event we do, as does the youngest daughter, but not quite as much. But yeah, she'll do well. She'll be all right.
Well, tell me about Divergent Yachting then. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do. And I mean, you also work with the cruise industry. It's not just yachting.
So Divergent Yachting was set up mainly to manage Black Pearl. It was something that I always wanted to do, to get into, was the yacht management side of it, having listened to a lot of captains at all the handover of the boats. So I've been involved in 14 different builds, and at every handover we have this period where the management company comes in and the captains do, have that that issue period, and then because I'm involved in all the projects, I get calls afterwards. And with Black Pearl, the client just said to me, look, I've worked with you for 6 years doing this build, and I've had every brokerage house and management company knocking on my door, and I don't know them, I don't trust them, probably because he just didn't know them. But you've worked with me, and I'd like to carry on working with you. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to set up the management company that I wanted to do anyway. And the whole philosophy with Divergent Yachting is that we want to keep the crew ratio and the yacht ratio as low as possible for the yacht managers. So I don't want a big management company where a yacht manager is overseeing 5, 6, 8, 10 boats, potentially, anything from 100 to 300 crew members, and not giving them the personal service that I really want to give to my clients. We even now, during this period of coronavirus, we Zoom, have meetings with all the boats. We know all the crew. We're talking to crew on and off the boat every week. We've been invited to their weddings, and we're invited to their birthday parties and all sorts of stuff. And we get on really, really well with everyone. We're the ones who monitor all their certification and make sure everything's done properly. We help them with a load of stuff outside that, which I'm sure lots of other people do as well when they have the time. But what we have found with the boats that we manage so far is when we've taken on new crew for these yachts, it's working out at 77%, I think it is at the moment, of all the certificates that we see. 77% of the crew members, sorry, have tickets that are invalid, that are incorrect, that, you know, and it might be a small thing. It might be the fact they haven't signed the back of it, which they're supposed to, or it might be, but we've had COCs for officers that are 6 months out of date. These guys shouldn't be on a boat. They shouldn't be at sea. And it's not their fault totally, because they have a yacht management company, or they had one on their last boat, that was supposed to look after them and hasn't. And the yacht manager himself, you know, it's nearly not even his fault, because he's got 300 people to look after. Each crew member has somewhere between 15 and 36 certificates, depending on what their position is on board. Each yacht, depending on whether it's private or commercial, has 30 to 50 something certificates. So, you know, and all of these things are being managed and overseen by a yacht manager. So when you multiply it all out, it's just not physically possible to keep on top of it all if you have hundreds of crew that you're responsible for. You know, and yes, we use electronic systems as well, and the electronic systems tell you and help you and do all of this, and most of them do. They have a cloud-based system that anyone can log into. But the yacht manager is the guy who's supposed to help the crew members to remain certified and never get into a position whereby they're not qualified to be on the boat, if possible.
Does that affect like the insurance of the boat or health insurance and all the other aspects of it as well?
Well, that's where it becomes a big issue for the client if there ever was an incident, because you have your minimum safe manning that you have to apply, you know, you have to abide by. And if one of your chief officers, his COC's out, well, that minimum safe manning is gone. And the first thing the insurance company is going to do is go through your minimum safe manning document, and he's going to go, well, hang on a minute, you're not even operating with qualified people on board. So why would I pay insurance? So, you know, what was, okay, yes, sir, we're insured, Mr. Client, thank you very much, don't worry about it. All of a sudden you're not. And that's, you know, potentially hundreds of thousands of pounds out of the client's pocket.
Well, we know insurance companies, I mean, if they can get out of paying, they will do everything they possibly can, and they will go through your vessel with a fine-tooth comb to see if there is any reason that they can get out of paying if there is an incident on board. So, you know, as you're saying, that is extremely important, not just from a safety perspective, you know, for crew, period. I mean, you know, if everybody's tickets are up to date, that means that if anything has changed in the industry or there's more education that needs to be done, that, you know, everybody is kept up to date and everyone is safe on board. So it's not just the insurance aspect of things.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Safety is the biggest thing, isn't it, on board any yacht?
Yes, and I don't think a lot of people in the non-yachting world understand the danger that, you know, crew do face every day when they go to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously it depends on the boat, but whether there's a little bit of danger or a big amount of danger, and big boats, big things go wrong and lots of damage, big injuries.
Yeah.
It's
So does this Divergent Yachting, does this actually work into your yacht consultancy business as well?
yeah, Yacht Consultancy was myself doing new build projects from 2005 right through to now, and I've kept it separate because I'm actually looking at doing a build project now with another management company, and I know the owner of that company, and he knows that I won't try and take over the management of the boat, because I don't want to do that. He's a friend of mine, and he's going to get, you know, I'm helping him with a new build. He's given me some work, obviously, if I do the new build for him and or get involved, and therefore I have the total respect that he is going to be a perfectly good manager. I know how he runs his business and everything, and so I kept Yacht Consultancy separate. But at the same time, if someone came to me personally, I would do the new build project through Divergent Yachting. So Divergent is also, you know, involved in new build stuff. We're looking at some projects.
So what's next for you?
Well, you know, I'm really hoping that there's a couple of drawings on the table for more dyno rigs and greener yachts. I mean, sailing Black Pearl is very, very green now, but there is the potential to be even more green than she is, so less reliant on fossil fuels. I think the next sailing boat will have 0 fossil fuels on it, which will be quite interesting to get involved with. But we're also looking at a couple of big motorboats, and trying to grow the management company. That's what we're trying to do. I would like to get to about 10 or 12 boats maximum, increase the size of the team by a few just to keep the ratios right, and have a nice little business running along and see out my twilight years.
I think you're a wee ways away from the twilight years yet. One thing that I have noticed in the yachting industry is as the years, come on, everyone is more and more concerned about the environment. Do you find that when owners are approaching you, that is one of their main concerns is looking after the environment and how they can have a new build that is kinder to the environment?
Yeah, I think so. Especially, in the last 3 to 5 years, we've definitely seen the change. And obviously it depends on whether it's a motorboat or a sailing boat, but they all want to do something more than we were doing before. Whether it's just reducing the reliance on the generator on a motorboat from 24 hours a day down to 12 hours a day, or whatever it is, they all want to do something. And the possibilities with new technologies coming in, the possibilities of doing something are every year becoming better. Solar panels, for example, 5 years ago, 10, 12% output, lucky to get 21. Now, your average SIGs is 17 to 21, and the really good stuff, the gallium arsenide stuff, is 44 to 47% output. And that makes a huge difference when you're looking at how much you've got to cover of your boat and something that fundamentally is not very attractive. But there's lots of opportunities, and using wind, and there's new paints coming in that do solar stuff, glass. And yes, the efficiency is not that great, but if you put enough of it on, and a lot of these new boats have a lot of glass, every little bit helps. And if you can cut down your reliance on fossil fuels by 1 hour just because of that, that's great. And if you can cut it down by even more, brilliant.
So I would imagine that it's probably easier to make a sail vessel more greener than it would be a motor yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I would imagine that.
Oh, you would know better than I would, because I'm not a sailor.
Yeah, we're not quite. I don't think we're quite there yet with the motorboats, because the one everyone's talking about obviously is hydrogen. But to make hydrogen, you need to use 130% to make 100. So, i.e., if you want 100 kilowatts of power hydrogen, you need to use 130 kilowatts to make that, which is just not efficient. There's no point running a generator to make hydrogen. So, therefore, on a sailing boat like Black Pearl that regenerates, and we use 138 kilowatts of power to run the house load on the boat in general with the crew on board. But we've had an optimum of 480 kilowatts of regeneration when we're sailing. So that means that, 320 odd kilowatts is spare, 350 kilowatts is spare power, which we could use to make hydrogen. Unfortunately, we were too late to do that with Black Pearl, but I think with the future yachts, sailing yachts, they could do that. And the only way a motorboat could really do that is if they had really good solar power or wind to create, because you need free power to make hydrogen to make it worthwhile. Right. Otherwise, the only other way is to stop ashore and top up with hydrogen, but at the moment the facilities are not there to do that globally. So, there's no point in having, if you're running a local ferry or something, then it's a great idea. But if you're not, then you want to go global touring.
Well, in the past, yachts were more about sort of being in a sunny and warm destination. And as of the last year and a half, we see that the yachts aren't necessarily getting bigger. They're getting a little bit smaller, but more capable of going to places like the Arctic, able to go through ice, that sort of thing. Are you seeing a shift with your clients as well?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone wants to do the global thing, go off the beaten track, basically get off the beaten track, see stuff that other people aren't seeing. They've all done the Saint-Tropez and Monaco and Nice and everything else. Now they want to see some other stuff. They want to go into the remote Pacific Islands and into Papua New Guinea and down to Antarctica and around Patagonia and Chile and all that stuff. So yeah, a lot more people wanting to do that sort of thing.
Are you finding a shift in ages as well? Is there the age demographic coming down?
It's coming down in certain nationality groups and national groups. So I haven't seen that many younger Europeans in there yet, but the Asians, the younger Asians are starting to come through. And whereas the older Asian group weren't really into yachting at all, but some of the younger wealthy ones now are seeing it as a new avenue for them to go out and have some fun and explore and stuff. But definitely the younger ones want to be more green. The older generation would like to try, but the young ones definitely, it's one of their main priorities.
And are you finding a desire for more toys on board?
Different toys, maybe. Not necessarily more, but definitely different toys. Go, a bit more submersible stuff, and then the guys getting into kite surfing and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Derek, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on board here and having a chat with us. And congratulations on so much that you have achieved in your career so far. And I'm looking forward to watching your career as the future grows, because I'm sure you've got a lot more left in you.
Well, thanks very much. I hope so. See what happens.
Yes.
Thanks, Rhea.
No, thank you. Once again, you have been watching another edition of Palma Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. We thank Derek Munro, Director of Divergent Yachting, and of course, one of the founders of the SUPERYACHT Charities. So do tune in again. My name is Rhea. I have been your host. We'll see you next time.